Well, it's a pleasure to be here with George Costanza. He is a man who wears many hats, particularly because he has a bald spot on his head. He is an architect, a marine biologist. He used to work with the New York Yankees, but most of all, he is best known for his appearances in the widely regarded and widely known television series Seinfeld. How are you today, George?
Doing good. It's a Saturday. Don't gotta go to work.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. It's the best part of Saturdays. What about Sundays?
Sundays are good. Sunday is like the dessert of Saturday. Saturday's the main course. Sundays, it's like a dessert.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So first question. So the summer of George is underway now that it's July. So what do you plan to do to make it I guess, the best summer of the rest of your life? Hello?
Yes.
Yes. The summer of George is
I'm
here.
sorry. Could you repeat that question?
Yeah. The summer of George is here. So any plans to make it memorable?
Oh, the only thing you really need in summer is air conditioning and a hot dog. That
Mm-hmm.
makes summer for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. I could say the same thing. So I've already mentioned that you were on a show called Seinfeld, written by your friend Jerry
Yeah.
Seinfeld. Do you feel how do you feel about
Yeah.
his astronomical success recently, and that perhaps you may be somewhat left out of that circle? He's hanging out with comedians and celebrities and presidents now, and you're wherever you are.
It's like I feel happy for him, of course, but it's also, I don't know, you could maybe give something a little over my way here, right?
Yeah.
Little something.
Yeah, of course.
I'd like to meet the president.
Yeah, yeah. Which one is your favorite president? I mean, I know that Van Buren is it's a hot item recently.
Yeah, gotta go with Van Buren. Love Van Buren. I've always been a little partial to Jimmy Carter. He didn't do anything, nothing. The man did absolutely nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to do nothing is probably the greatest thing you can do.
I'm totally in agreement with you there.
Now, how did you come to know Jerry?
Jerry and I were friends all the way back in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And, we've had our ups and downs, in and outs, but hey, we're still together, baby.
Yeah, I remember in this one episode of the show Seinfeld, and I'm not sure if this is an aside. I'm sure that Jerry may have taken some creative or dramatic liberties when he portrayed your character. So when you watch the show Seinfeld, do you find it an accurate portrayal, like an accurate enough portrayal? Does Jason Alexander, the actor, did he do a good job portraying you?
I think he does a fine job. A little too neurotic, if you ask me. I don't think I'm that much like it, but, hey, that's showbiz.
Yeah, yeah, I completely understand, So one of the episodes of Seinfeld find there's a guy who Jerry went to high school with, and he alleged that Jerry may have in I believe a track and field contest, he may have jumped the gun, as in had a premature start. So, well, you were there when it happened, and was his allegations like were they credible?
Listen, who can say? All I know is Jerry won that race fair and square. And the other guy, he's just bitter. I mean, he didn't win.
Yeah, 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 and he didn't even win in the episode as well. 20 years later, Jerry, I believe,
No.
won that one fair and all the shapes that it can take. Yeah. So
It's true.
how would you describe yourself? Like when you meet someone new, say me, yeah, how would you introduce yourself? Would you start with George Costanza, or would you start with one of your aliases, Art Vanderley, I believe?
You do your homework. Well, I would probably start with George for you.
Yeah.
Now, depending on if I needed to get out of the situation or not, I probably would lead with Art. But this interview is pretty good. So I'd start with George.
Yeah. Yeah. So who is Art Vanderley?
To know him is to not know him. It's a complicated piece, I must say. Art is, of course, he's an architect.
Mhm.
He's also been known to be a import-exporter. He's a man of many talents. He's like Batman to Bruce Wayne. He's my Batman. I'm the Bruce Wayne. You see.
Ah, yeah, that's totally make things more understandable. Yeah, make things easier
Sure.
to follow. So yeah, so would you need an art signal in order to summon Mr. Vanderlei, as in like a beam that shines through the clouds in order to summon him?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Give me just a second here. All right. Here he is. What's up?
Hello, Art Vanderlei.
Yes.
You you don't seem to sound very different from the person that I've talked to previously, George Costanza.
Well, differences here and there.
Hmm. Yes. So I hear that you are an architect. Uh, have you
True.
have you designed any great buildings in New York that I should follow? That I should follow, check out?
Well, have you seen the Guggenheim?
I don't believe I have, and I don't believe that even if I go there, they would probably would they have would they have left your name out of the credits, the acknowledgements due to some disputes with your fellow architects? I heard that
Let me tell
story
you,
about that.
the disrespect that I get in the architect community is astounding to me.
Mhm.
Just slap my name on it. What's it gonna hurt?
Yeah, I know. Art Vanderlei. Perfectly innocuous name. Not
Yeah,
gonna harm
I
anyone.
agree.
So you have sort of an animosity with people whom with city planners. So what's your deal with city planners?
Well, they're called city planners, but let's be honest, how much planning really goes into the city? I mean, all the cities practically look the same. You got your buildings, your roads. You really don't have to do that much planning. The architects, though, we design the buildings and the roads. So, I think we should get a little more praise than them, don't you?
Yeah, yeah. You know, whenever I look at those city planning models, one thing that's always missing is the people. There are no people in those models. So when these city planners, so-called, when they design these cities, do they ever think about, the people, what they're gonna respond, or how much they're gonna appreciate or not appreciate it? Like, is there enough room to walk? Yeah, it's either you or it's either you whom you've suggested at one point that we should have escalators across the sidewalks of New York, and I thought that that was the most brilliant idea in the world.
Yeah. It's a great idea. The people. Let me tell you, these city planners, they don't care about the people. They only care about the bottom line, the money, the dollars. That's what they're looking for. People, who cares?
Yeah, yeah, and another idea which, well, it didn't go so well, which is that you proposed that everyone in New York should have name tags on them, and
Yes.
that actually was enacted into a policy by Mayor David Dinkins, which cost him the election. So, would you say that that is would you say that the failure is in the idea itself or the execution of the idea?
I think the idea itself's great. There's so many people in New York. How are you going to meet everybody and remember their names? So the idea is solid. Let me tell you that. The execution of the idea, Probably not so much. That's where the problem lies. Gotta have some people workshop it, see where it goes.
Yeah, yeah, and perhaps they should bring you into the workshopping process.
I agree. I
Yeah,
have always said this.
yeah, you were the ideas man, but they didn't even bring you into the discussion board. They just executed without your input.
Again, the disrespect.
Yeah. So let me talk to George again. So thank you very much, Art, for your brief
Sure,
opinion.
sure.
Uh,
I'll bring him back.
okay, George.
Hey, all right, let's go.
Okay, George. Art Vanderley was a very wonderful, delightful man. I'm glad
Yeah.
to got to know him briefly.
Yeah.
So do you remember what jobs have you had?
Sure. Of course, we talked about the Yankees. Was a real estate for a while there.
Hmm.
That ended pretty roughly, I must say. I then, of course.
Oh, right.
Oh, I used to.
Kruger Industrial Smoothing, right? Is that
Yes.
lawyers?
Yes.
Yeah, you introduced one of the great tricks to get out of the corporate boardroom meeting, which is to leave on a high note. So can you tell us what that means and how did you come to perfect it?
Oh, sure. So living on a high note is really just whenever you sense that you have hit your peak in a meeting, either something you've said or something you've done, brought forth, that's when you check out, baby, because I got to remember you for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that worked like a charm, didn't it? Yeah, I mean, not much work was done that day, but
Oh, yeah.
or any other day when that happened, but it worked like a charm. They remember that guy with the zinger, and that's that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is potentially an embarrassing episode for you, but you were fired once at I believe a book publishing outlet, Pendant Publishing, if I remember the name. Miss Elaine Bennis, Jerry's friend and ex-girlfriend, I believe, recommended you to the job. And let me be just blunt here for a second. You were fired for having sex with the cleaning lady. So is there?
Yes.
Do you regret what happened?
My friend, I regret nothing except for that incident. That, yes, I regret.
Yeah, and of course you tried to bribe her with a mink coat, or believe, but it had a very not so unnoticeable red dot on it, and that is what tipped her off to, the.
Yes. Well, they can't all be winners.
Yeah. No. Well, you win some, you lose some, I suppose.
Exactly. My life motto.
Yeah, but at least you got to where you are right now, which is somewhat better than what you've been if you had stayed on with that particular occupation or with that cleaning lady.
I'd say somewhat, yes.
How would you describe your upbringing? I see that in the show Seinfeld, and again, I must take into account the creative and dramatic liberties that Jerry may have undertake. Your parents, Frank and Estelle, they are seen as quite handfuls. They are a lot. So yeah. So how would you describe them?
Hey, let me tell you. However they look on the show, they are 10 times worse in real life.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Can you tell us about Festivus?
Festivus is a holiday my father created because Christmas was getting too commercial. So he decided that we as a family should have our own holiday, and he created Festivus, which of course always ends with the feats of strength, which always ends with him beating me up.
Yeah, and lots of crying took place whenever Festivus occurs. Yeah.
I wouldn't say lots of crying, but there's definitely crying.
Hmm. Yeah. How about Estelle? How about your mom? Did she ever, stand up for you when your dad pushes these schemes, or was somewhat rough on you, like in the Festivuses?
Oh, my mother. She tries, really, she does, but everything just turns into one big shouting match.
Hmm. Yeah, well, that must have been quite rough.
It was. It is.
Hmm. Yeah, let's talk about sports for a second. This is a
Hmm.
topic that I do not know anything about. So yeah, so you did work at the New York Yankees once. Was it your favorite baseball team, or did your allegiance lie somewhere else, like I guess the Mets?
Well, when I was at the Yankees, of course, my favorite team was the Yankees.
Mhm.
Uh, I guess to this day, it probably still would be the Yankees, although, the Mets probably have a better track record. But hey, New York boy to the day I die.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. So what do you find frustrating? What frustrates you the most?
People who can't learn to walk. When I'm walking in front of them, I want to go the same pace as I am, and they're just so slow. And you can't get around them. That's rude. And then they're going to yell at you, and then a whole thing happens. So it's like, just let's all go the same pace, please.
Uh-huh. Yes. Speaking of walking, I was reminded of this one episode where you were employed at I believe, a toy manufacturing company, and you basically pretended that you cannot walk, and so that they will perhaps employ you and grant you a special restroom facility. Most people, including myself, would regard that as borderline unethical. Would you say anything to, I guess, advocate for your own behavior at that time?
My lawyer has advised me to skip this question.
Ah, I see. Is your lawyer happens to be Jackie Childs, the same one who defended your pal Kramer when he spilled his coffee on his crotch?
My lawyer says I am not at liberty to say what their name is. But
I see.
yes,
Oh, okay. Well, he has a reputation. I cannot say if it's good or bad, but well, he has a reputation. Um, how would you describe the people who surround Jerry's circle? Say, I don't know, Elaine and Kramer, and well, even Newman. Do you get on well with them?
I do. I get along well with Elaine and Kramer, despite the crazy antics that he may get into. Newman, however, can stay the hell away from me.
Yeah, yeah. He's a diabolical character, to put it mildly.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, Postman, right?
Yeah. Let me tell you, always mixing up my mail.
And they pretend to be scared of dogs as well. Who who amongst us doesn't like who amongst us doesn't like dogs? If you don't like dogs, then there's a problem with you.
I agree.
So yeah, I've mentioned it before. It's a zinger, so just please forgive me on that one. I said that you wear 100 hats because to hide your male pattern baldness. I hope you don't find it too touchy or offensive.
I'll
Never,
allow it.
nevertheless, it seems most women would find bald men unattractive, and vice versa too. I mean, most men would find bald women unattractive. So do you find that your particular condition hinders your chance of getting with women in life?
I would say that that's a rather harsh stereotype that you put on me there.
Oh, I
Bold,
apologize, sir.
bold people are we're people too. Let me tell you, and we can we can find dates just as good as people with hair.
Mhm. Oh, how would you explain this one episode where you need a fitted toupee in order to find women? Would you like somewhat desperate at that time?
I was very desperate. Let me tell you, I was at the end of my rope. I just, I thought it was better for me to fit in, but then I realized, hey, you are who you are.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, well, you have to live with your natural condition, as we all do. Um,
Sure.
so, how do you find Florida? I understand that given some convincing and cajoling, your parents, as well as Jerry's parents, are living there. Do you try to visit them often?
No,
Hmm. Yeah. And had your parents not been in Florida, would you still visit it?
no.
Understood. Um, so describe to us your career as a marine biologist.
Well, as you probably already know, I did a brief stint as a marine biologist, and I, in fact, saved the life of a whale.
Yes,
It
yes,
was a very great fish.
yeah. The sea was angry that day, I
Oh,
presume.
boy, was it ever like an old man trying to send back soup at a deli.
So what's the best food in New York? Yeah, as you've mentioned, the deli.
The best food in New York, I would have to say a pastrami sandwich
Hmm.
at Monk's.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah. It's of all the salted cured meats, that's the one.
I agree.
Yes, and of course, you invented the technique of combining food and sex, the pastrami sandwich with, you know, lovemaking. Um,
Yeah.
uh, do you think that it will catch on in the next 10 years, with the younger generations being more sexually adventurous and all?
Oh, I absolutely do. In fact, I'm actually shocked that it's taken this long to do that.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I know that in regards to New York food, there's this one Pakistani restaurant, I, I suppose, where Jerry and yourself have frequented. And unfortunately, due to some accident, uh, the Pakistani man had to went back to his homeland. So, do you still miss the food there?
You know, the food was great. I do miss the food there. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I wish you could come back for sure.
Yeah, I know. Babu Bat, that was his name, and
Yes.
yeah, we all very sorry for whatever had happened. And another friend, another foodie or food maker who had to leave New York was a a particular soup maker. Uh, well, and he made really great soup from what I've heard, but due to his temperament, he was nicknamed the soup Nazi, I believe. Is it is it was it Jerry or yourself that came up with that particular moniker?
I believe that was old Jerry, but let me tell you, that Soup Nazi was a terrifying guy.
Yeah, yeah. You tried to order some crab bis with extra bread, but he didn't give you the bread.
No, wasn't having it.
Yeah, and of course, there's the no soup for you, which makes him, extra. But the soup was worth it. The experience of being demeaned and harassed by this particular artiste, makes it
Mhm.
all worth it, I suppose. Yeah, and I believe it was Elaine uh, helped kick him out of business. And do you still hold any hard feelings with her uh, because of that episode?
There's some slight hard feelings. Every day in the fall, I think, how great would it be to have some more soup? But then I remember she pushed
Hmm.
him out.
Yeah, yeah, which is pretty unfair, he was
That's very unfair.
yeah, he was an upstanding businessman making great food.
I agree.
So let's talk about perhaps perhaps the your one of the rare moments that you actually found love and or not, I don't know. Uh, precisely, I'm thinking about Susan Ross, the person whom you almost marry.
Yes.
Do you remember when you first met her?
I do, of course. It was when we were pitching our pilot for Jerry.
Yeah, yeah, she was working at NBC at that time, right?
Yeah.
And of course, Jerry, uh, I I presume he later submitted that pilot, and it became the show Seinfeld that we all know and love. Maybe
Right.
most of us. Um, and you had a pretty torrid or stormy sort of romance at that time, if
Yeah.
I remember it correctly. But nevertheless, you came close to being married.
Yeah.
Um, but I sense that at that time you've exhibited some reluctance to marrying her. So can you explain why why you were hesitating?
Well, you know, when you take one of your best players off the field, they get benched, and then they can't play anymore. So I mean, you know, I was gonna get benched. I didn't know if I was ready for that.
Yeah, yeah. You at least in the show Seinfeld, the character of George said that she was killing independent George. So you you do you value your independence in such a way that you cannot let anyone, any man or woman, invade it?
Absolutely. Independent George is one of the best Georges that we have. Many people are saying this. I'm saying it. We can't lose him.
No, we cannot. He's the most fun to hang around.
I agree.
Yeah. Um, well, there's also insecure George, liar George, the George that push people aside in order to escape from a fire. But you take the whole package when you get independent George.
Yes, the single individual can exist in many forms.
Mhm. Yeah, that's why I that's why I said you wear 100 hats.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So she unfortunately passed away.
Yes.
You know, something relating to wedding envelopes. Yeah. So, do you think about her often?
I'm going to be honest with you. Not really.
Oh, I appreciate your honesty. Yeah.
Thank you.
But when you do think about her, perhaps in the one or two rare occasions, what memories, what kind of emotions that does she bring to you? Is it sadness? Is it regret? Or is it just, meh,
You know what I remember most about her? She was very good at separating the lights from the darks when doing laundry. She was excellent at it. I've never seen anybody better.
Mhm. Yeah. So were you skilled at that regard when before meeting her?
The laundry?
Yeah.
No, not like she was.
Hmm. Well, yeah, it's a it's a great skill to have. Not many of
I
them
agree.
have that one.
And I miss it. I miss it the most.
Mhm. What is your ideal type of woman?
The one who likes male pattern boldness.
Yeah, and of course, we spoke about celebrities in a few questions ago. You came very close to being with Marissa Tomei.
Yes.
Yeah. What did you find attractive about you, do you think?
I believe she was one of the few who likes the boldness, my friend.
Yeah. Yeah. If you were, say, as well known as Jerry, is there any particular working Hollywood movie stars that you would consider, you know, taking, you know, taking it to bed with?
Diane Keaton, maybe.
Hmm. Okay. Well, she's getting up there, you know.
You know.
Oh, well, you know, it's your taste, man.
Hey,
Yeah. So there was a Woody Allen movie that was filmed in New York. I particularly remember this episode because I really enjoyed Woody Allen. You were in charge of parking cars at that time, and well, and you did a very horrible job. And Woody himself yelled at you.
yes.
Um, I know that Woody himself has cast Jason Alexander in one or two of his films.
Sure.
My question is, you know, do you remember? Well, you do remember the meeting with Woody Allen, but do you remember meeting the person who played you in the Seinfeld shows, Jason Alexander? What was he like?
Yeah, I only met him a few times. You know, I wanted to keep my distance. I didn't want him to keep just ripping me off, you know. But
I
he's a
see.
good guy. I feel like he's got a good grasp on who I was, and he played me as well as you could under those circumstances, without, of course, you know, casting me myself.
Yeah, and do you find Seinfeld to be a superior version of Jerry, the pilot that you and Jerry Seinfeld conceive, or an inferior one?
Well, there was no butler, so I would say probably inferior.
Oh yeah, yeah. It would have been way better with the butler.
It's a great plot, I'm telling you.
Yeah, but at least you know, the Japanese liked it. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Hey, we'll get it where we can take it.
Mhm. Okay, so final few questions, because I understand that you are, you know, stopped for time, considering
No,
you have your summer to enjoy
I do.
and your fall to think about what you've done during summer, fondly or not. Is there anything in life that you regret?
Probably.
Yeah.
Regrets. I've had a few, but they're too few to mention, let me tell you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, to quote the great Frank Sinatra,
Who?
well, yeah, doesn't matter. He's
I'm kidding, of course.
yeah. So what music do you listen to?
I'm a big fan of folk music and also a little bit of pop here and there.
Mhm. So you converted to Latvian Orthodox at one point because
Yes.
one of your girlfriends was a part of that religion. Do you still adhere to that faith at all?
I don't appear to much faith, let me tell you. No.
Mhm. So let's it's a very morbid subject, but it's not like we haven't touched on this one before. But you know, we all die someday. Can you think of, do you know, is there an ideal age in which you would rather, you know, pass away naturally? And if that, whenever that ever happens, what would you like to be written on your epitaph, your gravestone?
It's a very good question. I'd say a good number to die at is around 104. You've
Mhm.
lived just long enough to say, I'm staying past my welcome, and then you check out. As for my epitaph, I'd like for it to say, he was a good guy.
Mhm. Well, I'm sure that it will be likely the case. I hope that you do make it to 104.
That would be nice.
And it's been a great pleasure talking to you, George Costanza, on this podcast. You've been a great guest, and you've been a very delightful presence. And I hope you take care of yourself, and I hope you enjoy your summer of George.
Thank you, and you as well. Go out and eat a hot dog, buddy.
Oh, yeah.